during the tour you are going to use a basket like this one. The coffee pickers use the baskets to collect coffee fruits, and they use the baskets like this. So right here we have perfect conditions for planting the coffee, okay? Planting and harvesting all the process. The third largest producer of coffee in the world. It is the first country that produces smooth coffee. Do you know what smooth coffee is? The smoothness is related to the taste. So our coffee is sweet coffee. It has high quantities of sugar, and this is why it is smooth coffee, because of compared to another types of coffee, our coffee isn't strong nor bitter. Okay? It is sweet coffee. The other hectares left, 6 of them are to feed the cows. It means that we grow grass, yeah, for cows feeding, and we have 3 hectares of bamboo forest in the back, yeah, and other hectares for the constructions. For example, the hostel, the kitchen, the milling place, the storage place, and at the other side of this farm we have another construction, and right there we have pigs, and that makes part of the 23 hectares, but only 12 are for planting and harvesting coffee. All right, this farm has 3 certifications. I mean 3. The certifications are: the first one is the UTZ, and it focuses on productivity. The second one is the Rainforest Alliance, which is an environmental certification. And the third one is the 4C, or the Common Code for the Coffee Community Association. And this one is an Ethic and Conduct certification. Okay? Now, the planting process starts at a greenhouse with soft soil. The soft soil is sand from the river. It's neutral sand. It means it doesn't have chemical pesticides nor fertilizers, just sand. Right here I have a coffee fruit or cherry, right? And if I squeeze the fruit like this, from the inside I've obtained 2 coffee seeds, yeah, or pergaminos in Spanish. Now, can you see it from there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, the seeds are slimy and wet, and we call that substance mucílago, or mucus. Yeah. And we plant the seeds into the soft soil, and 2 months later a baby plant comes up. At this stage it looks like a matchstick, yeah, or phosphorus. Here in Colombia we say phosphorus. And 10 days later, the matchstick becomes into a chapola, which is a small plant with 2 leaves. And the leaves are similar to a butterfly's wings, or a butterfly's shape. Right here in Colombia, we have different butterfly species, and we call some of them chapolas. It's a local name. We take the chapola out of the soft soil and we plant it into a plastic bag with dark soil. The dark soil contains fertilizer at that moment, which is good for the plant while it grows. And into the plastic bag, the plant grows for 6 months until it reaches 40 or 50 centimeters tall. After 6 months, we take it out of the plastic bag and we start we plant it into the ground. Yeah. Right here we have coffee crops. Right there, into the ground, there must be a separation between plants. It means 1 meter of separation between plants and 2 meters between rows, because of while they grow, the plants spread or they become into wide plants, and they take some spaces, so it is necessary to separate them. Okay. Right here, and after 18 months, the plants get into an adult stage. Yeah, and at that moment, they start blooming flowers, and the flowers are white color. Some of them have 6 petals. Petals? Yeah. Others have 5 petals. Yeah. White color. They smell like sweet, an intensive sweet smell. Yeah. 3 days later, after flowering, the flowers fall off and green coffee fruits come up. The flowers don't need to be pollinated by insects nor birds because of they are hermaphrodites, so they make the process by their own, right? One flower falls off, one green fruit comes up. To the green fruits, it takes another 9 months until they get ripe. Yeah, till they get ripe or they become into red color. At this moment, when the fruits are completely mature, the harvest season begins. During the harvest season, the coffee pickers come to the farm and they start collecting coffee fruits. Normally they use 10 kilograms baskets. At this moment, you are carrying 2 kilograms baskets. So you are expected to collect 2 kilograms of coffee fruits. You are. No, Damian. Just kidding, okay? And they collect the fruits and they fill sacks of 70 kilograms with coffee fruits, okay? Now, a coffee plant produces coffee for 5 years, twice a year, each year from March to May and from September to November. The first year is good coffee production. The second one is better than the first one. The third year is the most productive. The fourth one is less productive. And the fifth one is the worst. For that reason, after 5 years, we peel the trees, or let's say that we remove the leaves and part of the twigs. And those remain into the ground. Later, they become into organic compost for the coffee plants. Okay? At the same time, we snip the trunks 30 centimeters above the ground. And at that moment, new coffee plants start growing from the trunks, not from the ground this time. Okay? And the new plants take 2 years to get into an adult stage and to start blooming flowers again and producing coffee fruits. Okay? And this process, it can be repeated only twice during the plant's life, because of a coffee plant lives for about 20 years. After 20 years, we have to take it out of the ground and we have to start over with the process. Okay? 20 years. A coffee plant has 2 big enemies. The enemies are, the first one is the roya, which is a fungus, and it attacks the leaves. When the roya attacks the leaves fall off and the fruit dries out and dies. Yeah? Or the fruits dry out and die. The same happens to the plant. The second enemy is the broca, which is a small insect, and it gets inside of the fruit. It gets inside of the fruit through the belly button. Yeah? In Spanish, we say el ombligo de la fruta, or the belly button. Right? Inside of the fruit, it spreads some eggs, and the becoming worms eat the fruits and destroy the seeds, which is not good for the coffee production. Okay? So in order to prevent these problems, the national coffee technicians created hybrid plants. And how? Maybe you wonder how. Most part of the coffee plants, they come from the Arabica type. The Arabica is originally from Ethiopia. It's a native plant. So the technicians crossed the Arabica with another type of coffee, another variety, and they obtained hybrids that are resistant nowadays to the attack of roya and broca. But nevertheless, the broca is a very persistent insect, and it still attacks the fruits, but no more than 1% of the production nowadays. So we no longer have to use chemical pesticides. All right? Please squeeze the fruits Yeah? And there you have to place the seeds. Okay?
He makes a hole.
He makes a hole.
There you go. They made you one.
So I've got two.
Oh, you had two.
Oh, I had two. And there's just two ones.
And please cover the seeds with sand. I'm sorry.
My silicone. It is.
It's a small plant with two leaves, similar to a butterfly's wings. Yep, right here. Does it look like a butterfly? Yeah. All right. Sometimes, or once a person said, "Oh, but I don't notice the similarity," and I say, "Oh, how come? Look, it looks like a butterfly." You add some how does it pata? Some legs and two antennas. Yeah, that's it. There you have the butterfly. Chapolas or the plant out of the plastic bags, and we put them into the ground right there. So we have the crop and into the ground. The plants grow for another 18 months until they start blooming flowers and producing coffee fruits. Okay. And this is the result of crossing the East Timor plant, which comes from Indonesia, yeah, with the Caturra. The Caturra is another variety of coffee, and that is the type of plant that was harvested during the 80s, right here in Colombia. But the Caturra is the plant which is susceptible to the attack of Roya and Broca. So during the 80s, there was a big coffee crisis or big coffee loss due to the attack of Roya and Broca also. Okay, so right there, the technician decided to create hybrids, seeking to create a resistant plant. And right here we have the result, Colombian variety, among other types of hybrids. Yeah, it is resistant to the attack of Roya. Yeah, so the leaves are healthy. Maybe the Roya attacks the leaves, but at this time the Roya doesn't destroy the leaves, yeah, and doesn't kill the plant, neither the fruits, right? And when the Broca shows up, if possible to say it like that, when we identify the Broca problem right here, so during the harvest season we collect the fruits each 14 days. Why? Because of when the insect spreads the eggs inside of the fruits, those eggs need 20 days to incubate. Yeah. So right here we collect the fruits each 14 days and we take the fruits to the milling process, and right there we get rid of the husks and we avoid the development of the worms, and we protect the seeds that we need to make coffee. Okay. Colombian variety, productive, good coffee quantity and quality. Okay, the plant doesn't grow very tall and it is not very dense. And the Tabi is the result of crossing the East Timor with Bourbon plant. Yeah, so the East Timor, since it is a native plant, it is the basis for many hybrids that we have right here. All right. Okay. And we also have bananas and plantain trees, but those trees don't make the same function like the bigger ones. We plant them. Those are perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. They look like cherries. Like this. Fruits contain sugar, okay, and the sweetness, it is also related to the altitude, the quality of the soil, and the fertilizer that we use here. At higher altitudes, the sugar level increases. At lower altitudes, the sugar level decreases. It's called the tolva de recibo, or the place where the fruits are collected. All right, and from here, the fruits fall into a machine that is downstairs. The fruits fall into a machine called the pulping machine. or despulpadora. Out of the drying process, we have first class seeds. First class because of they are healthy seeds, complete, in good shape. And out of the same process, we have second class seeds. Yeah? The second class seeds or pergaminos are defective, smaller, different sizes, different shapes. And that is the second class coffee that we use right here at the country. Yeah. Now the threshing machine, this one, the machine that removes the shells. Yeah. And finally we have the coffee beans. Instead of using the silo, which is used for big quantities of coffee seeds, instead of using the silo we use the marquesina, which is a large concrete floor. It has a bamboo structure covered with plastic, and the plastic keeps the heat from the sun. And here the temperature is warm. Yeah, the temperature increases right here, and we use this place to dry low quantities of coffee seeds. When we have big quantities of coffee seeds, so we need to use the silo because of right there the process is more quickly. Yeah? Let's suppose that this is the channel with the net. The net has holes, yeah? And right here we place the coffee and we shake the coffee. Different sizes, different shapes, defective. Yeah, kid. Okay. All right. So when we place the coffee right here, let's suppose that we have a big quantity of coffee right here, and the second class goes down through the holes, and the net keeps the first class on top. Yeah. Sometimes the net keeps second class on top, second quality seeds. And that is how we sort the coffee by hand. And right here we have second quality and first quality. The roasting process, there was an ancient method. Yeah? And it was like this. We place the beans into the pan, and we put the pan on fire. And, well, I'm roasting my hands. So we start doing like this. Yeah, and here we are roasting the beans, but we have a problem. This process takes more than an hour. Yeah.
It's good. It smells nice. It smells nice.
The roasting process is good enough to increase the coffee's characteristics with the first class beans. And the high roasting process, like burned coffee, for the second quality seeds or pergaminos, the defective ones. Remember? We need a high roasting process with those pergaminos because of it is like we almost have to burn the seeds in order to cover the defects if we want to obtain coffee out of the seeds. Thank you.
I haven't done beans before, but I've done beans.
If you have the espresso machine, this one uses very fine ground coffee. If you have the Italian mocha, this one uses medium ground coffee. The French press uses medium ground coffee. Yeah. And among other types of machines that make coffee, so medium ground. The espresso, very fine ground coffee. We recommend it to use a 7 grams tablespoon per cup like this. 100 milliliters of water. So 7 grams of coffee. And right here we use the cotton filter, the ancient method to filter the coffee, yeah, instead of using the machines. So do you all want to drink coffee? Yeah. First of all, when it boils, it loses oxygen. And the oxygen is important because it makes a chemical reaction over the coffee. And second, when you boil the water, it gets a high temperature, and the high temperature burns the coffee into the filter. Okay? So, we warm the water until it starts simmering, okay? At that moment, the temperature is good enough to make the coffee. Probably at 90 degrees Celsius degrees. Handle of the filter, please. And pour the water slowly and making round circles, okay? Slowly and making round circles. So we have 2, 4, 5, and 5.
How much?
All of it, please.
All of it?
All of it. And observe all the flavors coming out or getting out of the jar. Yeah. And there we have coffee's essence. Yeah? And the coffee smell. So how are you feeling right there?
Smells good.
Yes. And then now I'd like
Leute
to
drauf. Hast du eins gemacht? Aber auch eins mit Gesicht nach vorne. Mach mehrere mal. Champion.